To go further in depth on what took place yesterday, we are pleased to bring in Elliott Abrams, a senior fellow for Middle East Studies on the Council on Foreign Relations, also a former Deputy National Security Advisor and advisor to President George W. Bush. Elliott, always great to talk to you. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Let's get started here. We had this kind of strange internet outage in North Korea yesterday and then a cryptic message from Marie Harf. The thing that kind of struck me, though, this administration has not been reluctant to take credit for these types of things. And why would they not take credit for something like this?
I guess they're a little bit afraid that if they try to humiliate Kim Jong-un face to face, as it were, he'll do it again. That is, that he'll attack the United States again. I think it's just as well not to take credit for it, but I think it's important that we keep doing it and do more. I mean, I'd like to see us take down their internet again. And I think it's very important. I don't suppose he cares all that much about the internet, and very few North Koreans have it. But I'd go after his money. That's what really concerned them most during the Bush administration, when we went after their money and their banking system. And that's where I try to hit them again.
And out of all the options, and there are not very many of them, that really is, from what I can tell, the best one right now on the table. There are foreign banks that still do business with the North Koreans. What would it look like? Does that take an act of Congress? What can the president or Congress do to specifically hit those banks at this particular juncture?
You don't need anything from Congress. You just need the president telling Treasury, basically, do it. And start cutting them off from the international banking system. And you can start telling other banks around the world, no one who deals with North Korea can enter the U.S. banking system. You can make them, in a sense, a financial outlaw. We did that about 10 years ago, and it really hurt their economy. And boy, there's never been a better case for doing it than this one, where we've now identified them. And this is really very dangerous. I mean, it's not dangerous to take that one movie
right.
and hack Sony.
But we're talking about the First Amendment here, which is really what they affect, and that's why this stings for so many people. And, since it doesn't take an act of Congress to do this, why has the president not done this yet, at least in a public way?
Well, I think we've been a little bit soft on North Korea, frankly, and what's it gotten us? I mean, nothing. So I hope that we'll be a lot tougher on this kind of internet stuff, on their finances, and really start putting more pressure on. We know that being easy and soft in the hand of friendship and all that doesn't work with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, well, we got about 2 minutes before we got to pause the conversation a bit. And I want to get to this study that was done there by the Center for Preventative Action at the Council on Foreign Relations. 2,200 foreign policies officials were surveyed, talking about what might be the most severe threats as we look ahead to 2015. And as I mentioned in the tease of the show, spoiler alert here, North Korea and cyber attacks are both on the list.
It's interesting because this is the first year that the internal threats to the United States are near the top of the list. Iraq is number one, as most likely to happen. But number two, a large-scale attack on the U.S. homeland or ally. That would be a terrorist attack. Number three, a cyber attack on U.S. critical infrastructure. Now, after this attack on Sony, I think we can begin to see there are probably a lot of corporations in the U.S. that do things more important than Sony. I mean, things like power plants,
right,
that can be attacked. So this is really dangerous. Usually you expect to see things like, the Middle East, Iraq, South China Sea, all of that. This is the first year that this survey of 2,200 people has come back and said, wait a minute, what's happening inside the U.S. may be at the top of the list.
Very concerning when you take a look at that. Another thing that I didn't see on the initial list we put out there, but I'm sure it's included on that. Putin's increasing desperation as the price of oil continues to fall. Some say oil at below $60 a barrel would really mean an end to the Putin regime. What's your take on that?
Yes, Ukraine is on the list, increased fighting in eastern Ukraine, and that obviously means Putin. I think we don't know yet. Putin could do one of two things. He can, in a sense, sue for peace and say, wait a minute, the economy's collapsing. Let me make a deal on Ukraine and let's everybody quiet down. Or does he double down? And that would mean, for example, attacking in Estonia the way he did in Ukraine and trying to scare us off. I think we don't really know yet whether he's going to do less or do twice as much.
All right, so we'll leave that part of the conversation aside, but we're going to have Elliott come back with us. We're going to continue talking a little bit more about what's taking place. Elliott Abrams from the Council on Foreign Relations, thanks for sticking around. You're watching America's Forum right here on Newsmax TV. We're going to be here all day. Buckle up and get comfortable. More to come right after this short commercial break.